Hello and welcome to the session on resources used in food service establishment. In this session, we will understand the characteristics and requirements of various resources that are used in a food service establishment. Resources of a food service establishment are the factors available for production and service of food. There are basically two kinds of resources that are necessary for efficient management of food service institutions. They are 1. Resources from the natural environment, 2. Resources from the work environment. Food, water, energy, land and time are the resources from natural environment. Money, materials, equipment, staff, procedures, time, energy utilization and space are the resources from work environment. Let us discuss about each of those resources in detail. The first category of resource from natural environment is food. Food is a resource obtained from the natural environment. The long-term viability of food supply depends on the sustainable use of natural resources. Optimization of production of food from agricultural land has to be aimed while protecting the environment at the same time. This would ensure a balanced cost-benefit ratio between the food producers and the environment. Projected increase in food demand focuses on agricultural technologies to provide food security, reduction of food wastage and promotion of sustainability. A food service establishment uses perishable foods such as fruits, vegetables, milk, eggs and meat as well as non-perishable foods such as grains and pulses. In addition, a variety of processed packaged food may be used depending on the nature of the establishment. The menu and the establishment policy concerning cooking, serving and buying methods. When purchasing food materials, the points to be considered for maximum utility are: buy seasonal foods as they are cheaper in season. Consider percentage of edible portion while buying. Match quality, variety and pack of food material to the end use for whom it is purchased. Match quantity purchased to storage areas and type of storage available. Also buy quantities in relation to the turnover of the food materials. Relate purchase list strictly to the menu as well as menu to purchase list, especially when perishable commodities are being purchased. In general, food materials are best utilized when loss is prevented during receiving, storage, preparation, cooking, serving and cleaning. Indicators of inadequate utilization of food material are excessive leftover food, insufficient food to meet the demand, excessive plate waste, a drop in demand and so on. Any efforts to prevent those can lead to better utilization. The second category of resource from natural environment is water. Fresh water is an essential resource, the availability of which shall not be taken for granted. In view of rapidly rising population and high demand for water for drinking, agricultural purposes and manufacturing purposes, supply of safe and abundant water for future use has to be ensured. Attention has to be paid on efficiency of water use, conservation of water resources and on maximizing production with minimal use of water. Another category of resource from natural environment is energy or fuel sources. There are basically two types of fuel commonly used in India for purposes of food production. One is liquefied petroleum gas, which is also called LPG, and the other is electricity. There is every need to use the fuel as economically as possible, considering the fact that fuel shortage is a common occurrence in developing countries like India. Moreover, with constant increase in the price of fuel, the food production activity is expected to be done with less usage of fuel for financial reasons as well. Management of fuel energy in food service establishments is done as follows. Make the staff aware of cost involved. identify the area of wastage and analyze points of careless use. Staff can be given incentives for lower fuel costs and high productivity. Invest in equipment designed to switch off fuel supply automatically when cooking is done. Using thermostats to control temperatures so that higher than necessary temperatures are not used for cooking, holding or for storing foods. Using the right size of pans for the quantities that are being prepared so that fuel is not wasted in heating up larger vessels. This too will help in fuel conservation. Heating elements and range tops should be switched off when not required. Hot plates may be switched off a few minutes before the food is done, as it retains heat for some time after it is turned off. If efforts are made to recycle heat given off from kitchens for purposes of raising the temperature of wash water, then that would conserve a lot of fuel. Arrangement of refrigerators away from the kitchen would require less electricity to run them effectively. Condensers of cooling equipment should never face the wall because the heat released has no outlet and tend to rise the temperature of the environment unduly. The fourth category of resource from natural environment is land. Land is a scarce resource whose supply is fixed for all practical purposes. There is a constant demand for land for various purposes along with the increase in human population and economic growth. Utilization of land for various uses depends upon physical factors like topography, soil and climate, as well as on human factors such as density of population, duration of occupation, occupation of the area, land tenure and technical know-how. In a food service institution, availability of land has a role to play in two ways. One is by way of making the land available for carrying out various activities of a food service institution such as storage, cooking, serving and cleaning. The other way in which land plays a role is in food production in huge quantities to meet the demands of the rising population. The net sown area under food crops can be increased only after considering the natural limitations of topography, soil, climate, water availability and so on. Land is perhaps the only resource which in real term appreciates with time. The appreciation, however, is only beneficial if the advantage is received by the owner of the food service. In small food service establishments, however, the owner may be paying a rent for the space, in which case he does not receive the advantage of its appreciation. On the contrary, over a period of time, more money is required to pay for increased rent, which may decrease the profits. The fifth category of resource from natural environment is time. All work is required to be performed within a given period of time, whatever may be the nature of work. In catering field, where food has to be served at particular timings, the pressure builds up for staff in kitchen, service and clearing areas from time to time. Often, managers and supervisors have to work long hours to have plans and schedules for jobs ready in advance so as to enable work to flow as smoothly as possible. In order to avoid wastage of time, it is important to analyze each person's work to determine how well the time is being utilized. One of the ways to collect data on time utilization is to maintain a diary or time log in which details are recorded showing how time was utilized, by whom, what was the desirable result and any comment on the achievement in that period against what the objectives for the period were. An accurate record helps to focus attention on time periods which were used inadequately, which could otherwise be spent on useful activities. Some common causes for wasting time in kitchen and service areas are reaching late to work, not having production plans in advance, ingredients not requisitioned on time which can delay the work, ingredients out of stock because of late ordering or non-availability, equipment not well maintained or non-availability of right equipment for the job, poor conditions of lighting, ventilation, temperature and humidity in working areas leading to lethargy and slower movement at work, improperly planned spaces and work centers, not enough motivation to go to work, some problem within the family, either medical, social or psychological, affecting the work, ignorance of how the job is to be done, fear of annoying superiors, laziness as a personality trait, autocratic leadership with excessive supervision and interference in the work, kitchen is too large leading to much travel time between the work centers, too many bosses leading to confusion about what has to be done and how, socializing at work because of lack of loyalty to the organization or lack of devotion of duty. Now, let us discuss the resources from work environment. Money, materials, equipment, staff, procedures, time, energy utilization and space are the resources from work environment. Let us discuss money as a resource from work environment. The goal of every food service establishment is to make profits, but before this can be achieved, there has to be money to invest and spend in order to acquire the other resources that are necessary for the production and service of food. It is only when food is made available to the customer that money will start flowing into the establishment. It is therefore necessary to understand the ways in which an entrepreneur can raise money for the establishment. There are basically 4 ways in which money can be raised for starting, expanding or renovating institutions. They are borrowing, partnership, hire purchase and savings. Borrowing means to receive something from somebody temporarily expecting to return it. The sources of borrowing money include nationalized banks or government finance companies who offer loans at interest rates in special cases such as for social causes. A partnership is an arrangement in which 2 or more individuals share the profits and liabilities of a business venture. Various arrangements are possible. All partners might share liabilities and profits equally, or some partners may have limited liability. Money can be raised by joining in partnership with other people who can share the investments in the business. Another way in which money can be raised is by hire purchase. Hire purchase involves purchase of premises and equipment on a hire purchase basis, which can then be paid off in installments after the establishment becomes functional and starts earning profits. Savings also can be used for capital investment. The owner of food service establishment can use his savings initially for running the establishment till enough profits are earned to pay back. But this is not a desirable practice if loans can be raised at reasonable interest rates. Whatever be the source of raising money for an enterprise, it is important to evaluate it to ensure that investments made in food service are producing the expected results. This is because the success of catering operations depends to a large extent on the customers and a changing environment. Once the profit areas are identified, more money can be spent on them and money can be withdrawn from less profitable areas. After raising the money, it is important to pay back at the earliest to minimize interest payments. In order to do this, money must be invested wisely in space, equipment, materials and other resources to get optimum return on investment. Making investment decisions for food service establishments therefore must be based on certain general criteria such as area of the space of the building, suitability of food service, control system, economy, flexibility, durability, continuity, efficiency and safety. The second category of resource from work environment is materials. The materials other than food and water that are commonly used in food service establishment are tableware and linen and cleaning material. Linen includes kitchen cloths, dusters and table linen. The kitchen cloths are required to be sterilized by boiling for half an hour in detergent water, rinsing out the detergent and drying for reuse. Since these clothes need to be changed every day, the efficient way to utilize them is to distribute 2 dusters and a kitchen cloth to each staff member working in kitchen and serving areas, so that they are responsible for them and use only their own clothes for their work, replacing whenever required. In larger establishments, the used clothes are centrally laundered every day and fresh clothes are issued each morning. Nowadays, table linen are being replaced by easy to clean materials like plastic coated table mats or placemats, disposable paper mats, tray service, paper napkins. As far as the cleaning materials are concerned, they are easily wasted, especially in larger establishments, because they are not the focus of attention of supervisors. Control in this area, though difficult, is essential. More attention to training people in the use of measures for detergents can lead to drastic change in profitability. Multi-purpose cleaners are cheaper to buy and easier to use. Cleaning materials also include mopping buckets, mops and brooms. Criteria for selection of cleaning material should be utility but not the price, useful parts, replacement of used parts, durability, maintenance of costs, replacement costs. It is better to use simple and easy to use equipment. The maximum utility of cleaning materials, therefore, lies in establishing correct methods of cleaning, choosing simple, familiar and low cost equipment, using multi-purpose detergents and avoiding wastage by buying packs in sizes required for a month or more depending on needs of the establishment, and finally storing well. The third category of resource in work environment is equipment. Equipment is expensive, and if they remain unused for most of the working day in any area of use, they become uneconomical. Another factor to be considered when investing on equipment is to ensure that its installation and utility outweigh the cost of labor which could be required to do the job if the equipment was not installed. For maximizing use of equipment, therefore, selection must be made on the basis of lower labor cost, making monotonous jobs quicker and easier, making the environment more clean and attractive, promoting staff morale, providing a means of adding interest to jobs and increasing the avenues for job and staff development, increasing production capacity within the limited spaces available, having multi-use so that equipment does not lie idle for too long. Every manager dealing with food service must think in terms of modular equipment and work out modalities to provide flexibility of arrangement and use so as to make investment on equipment meaningful. The next category of resource from work environment is staff. Food service establishments, being service oriented, are totally dependent on the skills and motivations of their staff and their willingness to make the establishment succeed. Staff in food service establishments is at various levels of literacy and possess little to highly specialized skills according to the needs of various tasks involved in food production and service. Maximum utilization of staff depends on a thorough understanding of the needs of the people through establishing an effective communication system. Managers have to motivate their human resources to an extent that will automatically make people perform their best. It has to be ensured that the basic conditions of comfort are provided at work and an atmosphere is created where cordial interaction is possible while at work or at rest. Some methods of reducing labor turnover are good pay, favorable conditions of work, demonstrating how each person's work forms a useful component of the total goal, participation in decisions which affect individual jobs, taking care of people through employee welfare schemes, creating a sense of belonging. The next category of resources from work environment are procedures. Procedures refer to the methods followed in performing tasks. In large quantity food production and service, certain techniques need to be developed which make work easier and quicker to perform. The aim of every food service unit is to follow correct procedures for every job so that the results may be consistent in terms of quality, quantity, time and energy consumption. The quality control procedures adopted by various establishments differ according to the size of the operation. Smaller establishments require less sophisticated methods than larger ones, which handle greater volumes of food and therefore face greater chances of contamination if handled traditionally. If machinery is not used to speed up the work and reduce the amount of exposure of food to air and handling, it would be difficult to control quality. Quality control procedures in food service basically involves 3 steps. 1. Setting out accurate specifications. 2. Checking foods for quality. 3. Testing the finished product. In food service establishments, specifications are set to communicate to the supplier the exact sizes, weights and numbers that are required. Sometimes descriptions or colored pictures of products may be used. Some vendors grade food products visually by size and color and price them separately. In food service establishments, the development of specifications is very important because those who receive the foods are not food specialists. The store staff commonly checks what is delivered with note and match it with the order placed by the institutional manager. Therefore, providing specifications help staff to check foods received more thoroughly for the quality required. Each food needs to be checked for quality against the specifications desired. This is done when the foods are received so that any item which does not conform to the specified quality is not accepted. Specifications can be developed for foods during processing, for foods completed and ready for serving, for cleaning and used equipment, for correct method of cooking, for checking the temperature of holding equipment, for portions served, temperature of food, consistency and presentation. It is always better to check the quality of finished dishes. If on testing a dish for quality, it is found to be unacceptable in any way, immediate action should be taken to prevent it from being served to the customer. The process involved in its preparation and the quality of ingredients used must be re-examined and any identifiable defects are to be removed. The 6th category of resource from work environment is time energy utilization. Time and energy need to be conserved for efficient use. Time, if lost, never returns. Although energy can be regenerated, it could be done only at the cost of more energy which is required for the purpose. Sometimes, if time and energy are lost, in order to compensate for it, more money should be spent on labor. To make full use of energy resources, it is important to stop wasting time. Factors which affect the amount of energy people waste at work are bad planning of layouts involving extra movement while working, leading to strain in the performance of certain actions, uncomfortable working conditions leading to slow movements and fatigue, poorly scheduled work and time of staff, poor health of employees making them feel exhausted and more prone to frequent sickness and accidents, aggressive behavior as a personality trait through which a lot of energy that could be utilized productively gets wasted in destructive activity, poor supervision leading to wrong methods of working leading to use of extra effort and time, emergencies where a lot of energy is wasted in panic, fear and anger, leadership style which generates fear, anxiety and lack of confidence in people at work. All these will lead to more waste of energy at work. Space is another category of resource from work environment. Space, being the most expensive resource, requires careful planning for building upon it. The aim should be to utilize every square centimeter effectively. Space has to be planned to provide arrangements of work areas with equipment so as to establish a smooth workflow. The environment should also be congenial and comfortable to work in. Well developed commercial spaces, however, are more expensive than spaces located on the outskirts of a city. The environment too is crowded and possibly polluted in commercial spaces. Decisions regarding utilization of spaces, therefore, need to be based on some important criteria such as type of food service desired to be set up, that is, whether it is a self-service, cafeteria style or formal waiter service, forecast of customers in terms of type of customers to be attracted and the maximum number of customers expected per day and their turnover, nature of menu, whether it is fast foods or full meals, timings of the service, staff skills and number required, usage flexibility required, design, shape and area of the space. Thus, every manager must prioritize and develop criteria to suit particular goals of the organization, even if they are short term goals or long term goals. To sum up, we can say that the resources used in food service institution are of two types: resources from natural environment and the resources from work environment. The resources from natural environment such as food, water, energy, land and time appear to be available in plenty, but they are definitely not to be taken for granted. Scarcity of natural resources is being felt in some pockets even in our country. Cautious and logical use of natural resources will ensure sustained availability not only for present use, but also for use by future generations. The resources from work environment such as money, material, equipment, staff, procedures, time utilization and space to demand attention and careful planning for their use, since they have an impact on overall functioning of an organization in terms of economic viability and thereby sustenance of the organization. Thank you.